We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. A playground for some. For others, it's where they make their living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant.
The sea takes no prisoners. You always have to be prepared for the worst.
The sea is a beast. If you weren't anxious about it, you're not doing the right job.
The water was freezing.
I was thinking I was going to die.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of over 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, and race to our rescue.
Steady, steady. Go for it.
When the pagers go off, your heart stops. Is this a life and death situation?
In the water.
You're okay, pal.
Let go of the sail, mate. Let go of the sail.
Even that 1 second could make a huge difference to someone at home. 1 minute they've got a son or a daughter, the next minute they may not.
There we go. Emily, high five. Well done. Nice one.
I didn't think we'd get them back. I was just thinking, just please.
Are you the parents?
The lifeboat crew, without them, there's no doubt about it, we'd have lost our girls.
Equipped with their own cameras,
Am I switched on?
It's on.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it.
Good stuff, that's it.
Speeding into the roughest storms, searching for people who may only have moments to live.
Gotcha.
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
If something goes wrong, you could be the only person between them and death.
Once one of the most important harbours on the south coast, Lyme Regis used to send ships sailing to far-flung corners of the world. Now a tourist destination in its own right, the town is known as the Pearl of Dorset for good reason.
I think Lyme's pretty stunning. It's some of the most amazing scenery on the south coast. It's pretty special.
It's got lovely sandy beaches, interesting cliffs, and a lot of people walk the Jurassic Coast, fossil hunting.
The first lifeboat station opened in Lyme Regis in 1826. Since then, its crews have amassed 20 awards for gallantry.
When the sea's flat, calm, on a summer's night in Lyme Regis, there's no better place than just being out on the sea doing a bit of training. Then other times, you're going out there with waves like the sizes of houses. A few years ago, we were called to a young lad who had been swept off the beach at West Bay, which on a calm day is a 10-minute journey. It took us 90 minutes to get there, and unfortunately, by the time we got there, there was nothing we could do for the lad apart from recover him. But it's just, that is the sea. One day it's flat calm, the next day, you're fighting waves 3-4 meters high.
One of the most notorious stretches of water around Lyme Regis is Axmouth Harbour, 6 miles along the coast.
Axmouth Harbour is renowned for being one of the most dangerous harbours, I would say, on the south coast.
The water is coming out from the river and it's flowing very quickly, and it's a difficult area as the water's rushing out to sea.
Throughout the summer, you'll have kids planted up on the harbour wall jumping in. And obviously, if the tide's going out, it does become dangerous.
Midsummer, Friday evening, Lyme Regis is gearing up for the weekend.
Went down with my boyfriend down to the seafront to have some fish and chips, watch the sunset, and then my pager went off. And there was that moment of, oh, don't order just yet.
When the pager went off, we had just lit the barbecue for a Friday barbecue.
Had the pizza, onion rings all in the oven, just serving it up as the pager went off.
When I got to the station, I was the first person there. The phone then rang. The voice on the other end, the DLA, said, "Nikki, it's an immediate launch." And straight away, I knew this is going to be serious.
The Coast Guard has reported that 2 people are in the water near Axmouth Harbour.
The situation can't get any worse than a person in the water.
You don't know how long people have been in there. You don't know what condition they're in. You don't know how tired they are. You don't know how cold the water is. There's a whole range of issues that they're dealing with that you have no idea on, and they don't know that help's coming.
More information comes through from the Coast Guard. The two people in the water are teenage boys. Both are being swept out to sea.
I think you always react slightly differently to any job when children are involved.
I think it hits home when it's a child that's somebody's child. There's mum and dad. They might not know that this is happening to their children, or maybe they can see it happening and there's nothing that they can do.
Within minutes, one of the boys' mothers receives the type of news every parent dreads.
The first phone call I got was at 7:04 saying 2 boys had been swept out to sea. One of them was Archie. It was like a nightmare, like an out-of-body experience sort of thing where you're like, OK, I can wake up from this, this isn't real, this can't be real. He's absolutely fine in the pool. He's done all his swimming lessons and everything else. He's a strong enough swimmer in the pool, but all I can think of with the sea, I don't know.
Emily rushes straight down to the harbour while the crew launch their Atlantic 85 lifeboat.
As we left the harbour in Lyme Regis, the conditions were quite favourable. And as we continued along the coastline to get there, the waves were a bit more chaotic and there was quite a bit more surf.
Even though you're doing 32, 33, 34 knots and getting bounced around, it still doesn't feel fast enough.
The difference between us arriving that 1 minute later could be the difference between that person potentially drowning or us saving them.
The crew are directed towards the two boys by a Coast Guard team on the shore.
100 metres from the river.
The Coast Guard team had visual on them. They also had visual on us. And as we were coming in from maybe a mile off, they just kept repeating, they're on your bow, carry your line, carry your line.
You could hear it so clearly that they were stressed and they wanted you to get there.
10 minutes after launching, the crew see something in the water.
There.
The first thing I saw was the arms waving and the silhouette of them in the glare of the sun.
It was a relief to see them swimming together, but at the same time, it's probably a better sight to see them both waving and shouting. They were approximately 200 to 300 metres off the shore, so yeah, they were far enough that they weren't going to swim back.
You okay? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, neutral almost. Okay. No, you're okay, Gotcha. Got your boat. Just take your time now, relax, all right?
When they grabbed hold of the boat, you could see instant relief on their faces.
I'll bring you back, all right? What's your name?
Archie.
Archie, I'm Tim, okay?
Yeah.
We'll look after you.
One was shouting and going. The second one was a lot more tired. You could tell he was coping a lot worse than the other one was.
The chap that we assisted in, he seemed okay, he was all right. And when I looked forward, I could see straight away that this casualty wasn't doing so well.
Taking much water in?
Yeah, I feel lightheaded.
Yeah, okay.
All right, guys.
All right, I'll go under his arm. Okay, mate. All right, just have a rest. 1, 2, 3, and I got you, mate. Right. Just come and sit here for a minute. He's really lightheaded, mate. Sit down on this seat here.
Let's go, Archie. Let's go.
One of them was hollering and high-fiving his mate, and the other one was sort of looked like he'd had enough. He was just sat there, relieved. A lot of the time, people will sort of fight to survive, and then when you rescue them, they think, job done, I'm good now, and that's when you do see them deteriorate.
There's still a lot that needs to be done, They're not out of the woods.
For your information, 2 casualties recovered from the water, 14-year-old, 15-year-old now. One said he's absolutely fine.
I had a phone call from a policeman, say they got both boys. I said, how are they? How are they? And he just said, I can't say, I haven't seen them, I can't say, we've got to wait for the paramedics to... And of course I was just like, oh, please just give me something, let me know, are they all right?
So, Eddie, you're all right, buddy, you're all right. Don't worry.
right, man.
Their responsiveness is one of the first things that we look for from a first aid perspective. Are you alert? And actually, how alert are you? So you just want to start having a conversation.
This guy here said he's really lightheaded, this guy here.
I think alarm bells ring when they say they're feeling dizzy, when they're not sure how long they've been in the water for, and they're seeming confused.
Archie, keep talking to us, buddy, all right? Right, we've got a helicopter.
You're worried about secondary drowning. That's probably the most prevalent thing in your mind.
Stick this over your head, right? And it'll keep all the wind off you. Make you put your arms in.
If you have inhaled any water into the lungs, the water inside the lungs irritates the lining, and your lungs will produce a mucus, and this will cause secondary drowning. It's where you drown in a way from the inside out.
The crew's concerns about secondary drowning and the state of the sea mean the decision is made to get both boys back to shore by air as fast as possible.
There was a sloppy sea and a big swell, and putting our boat into those conditions would have endangered further people and the vessel and crew itself.
The helicopter is on scene within minutes. Dropping over 20 meters down, the winchman must try and land on a boat little more than 2 meters wide.
If it's flat calm, it's an absolute breeze. If it's choppy, it's a totally different kettle of fish.
It's more risky for the winchman than it is for us, because he's either going to end up nicely in the boat where he wants to, or be tangled in our aerials at the back of the boat, or even worse, he could end up in the water in front of the boat.
It's like threading a needle whilst riding a bocking bronco. That's what it feels like.
Safely on board, the winchman must now get the boys into the helicopter one by one.
I'm coming up with you, don't worry. People pay a lot of money for this, Archie.
I think they were nervous. You could see they were scared. They haven't done it before, and with the sea state as well, it wasn't a particularly comfortable thing to do either, I don't think.
Seeing the boys go off one by one was a massive relief.
Our plan was just to jump off the harbour, go to Tesco's, come back, jump off the harbour again, and then we'll go home. But obviously, that didn't end up like that. It didn't end up that way.
Archie and his friends had been jumping off the harbour wall when he got caught in a rip current, a powerful channel of water being funneled away from shore.
The current was really strong. You couldn't swim against it. It was just pulling so hard.
He was very scared. His face was like blue.
Bo had recently moved to the area from Bulgaria. When he saw Archie, one of his new school friends, being dragged out to sea, he jumped in to try and save him.
I just remember him coming over one of the waves, and then he was there next to me.
Archie told me, "Oh, you're here. Please don't leave me. Just stay with me." I told him, "Okay, just keep calm. I'm with you. Don't worry."
We were like kind of nearly out of energy, and my legs started to cramp up, and then we were just like staying above water.
I was worried about him because he was not very happy. He was scared, and I was maybe a little scared about his life. I told him, just don't think about this situation. Think about your mom, your parents, think about anything good.
When I saw the boat, I was relieved. I was happy that it was there, and I was like, he's gonna be fine now. It's all right now.
The helicopter takes the boys back to a team of paramedics and an anxious crowd waiting on shore.
By the time I got there, they were in the road ambulances. I ran up so far, and then I just stopped, and I was terrified to go further. My biggest fear was of them saying, "I'm sorry, he hasn't made it." When I actually did get up courage to go into that ambulance, he was bundled up in a woolly hat and foil and blankets and all sorts of things.
She was, I guess, half angry, half like, thank goodness he's all right.
I think I did say, "You idiot, what on earth were you doing?" And then, yeah, and then when the ambulances got going, they stopped so that his sister, I said, "Look, can we just stop so that his sister can see him?" So, yeah, so she could see that he was all right. I mean, they fight like cat and dog, but at the end of the day, that's her twin brother. That's, you know, she'd be lost without him.
I think collectively we all felt that we'd saved their lives at that point, yeah.
So I think Bo would have outlasted Archie, but yeah, it's one of those questions. You never know how long anyone's got.
You live for shouts like that. It makes everything worthwhile.
After a series of tests at hospital, both of the boys were discharged.
Bo gave Archie a chance, which without Bo, Archie probably would have panicked more, got exhausted more. He probably wouldn't have had the outcome that he did. I think if I was Bo's mother, I'd be giving him an absolute rocket for jumping in, but I'm so glad that he did. It was an incredibly selfless thing to do. How do you say thank you? Because they're just two small words, but they really do mean just the world that we've got him still.
I'm a lot better than I was now. Many thanks to Bo and the lifeboat crew.
I'm not feeling like Superman. I'm not feeling like superhero. I'm feeling like normal people with big heart.
Around the UK and Ireland, on average, a lifeboat launches every hour. For the volunteers on board, saving lives at sea can come at a cost.
You never know when that page is going to go off, and you need to be there when that person puts that call in for help.
At the drop of a hat, having to leave bath time, to leave story time, you know, and walk out on crying children that want daddy there.
I try to explain it to my son sometimes that I know, you know, it might be disappointing that I can't take you to cricket, but somebody out at sea is having a really bad day, and we are the people that help them out.
I've been late for the hairdressers. I've been late for social things. I've had to leave social things, some of which I've really enjoyed leaving.
On my wedding day, the pages went off when the photographs were being taken, so some of the people that were at the wedding had to disappear and run off down the quay.
Yeah, we'll just go straight out, all right?
The night that my eldest son was born, there was a shout as my wife was going into labour, and she had to physically pin me in the house to stop me going. I said, "Oh, I'll just go down and see." She said, "No, don't, because you will go."
Tucked away on Ireland's south coast is the peaceful fishing village of Crosshaven, population 2,500.
Crosshaven's a nice homely village. Everyone knows each other and respects each other, and we all help each other out as best we can.
It is a huge sailing and motorsport village, constantly busy with yachts and everything. Crosshaven is a beautiful part of the world. I wouldn't live anywhere else.
Despite its sleepy village feel, the lifeboat station at Crosshaven is the busiest inshore station in Ireland, responding to around 45 call-outs every year.
We are the closest station to Cork Harbour, which is the second largest natural harbour in the world.
We cover from the actual city centre itself right down the coastline, so we could go left or right out of the station, left being inland and right being the Atlantic.
Whatever the call, Crosshaven's 30-strong crew know when the pager goes off, they have to be prepared to put their own lives on hold.
Yeah. Check the fuel tanks and top up.
Done.
Oh yes, I get FOMO a lot when all my friends are out and I see all the Snapchats of them enjoying their night out and I'm down here in the station. I know it's a bit of a sacrifice, but I think it's well worth it.
Vince, can you do the helmets and life jackets, please? I worked out recently that I've done 2,000 hours in 15 years on the lifeboat, yeah, so it's a big commitment.
Saturday evening, early September. Calm waters and a pleasant 20 degrees. Around the harbour, the weekend is in full swing.
I was in the yacht club and I was just about to buy my wife a drink in the bar. And next thing the pager went off. So I just turned around and I gave my wife the money and says, sorry, I have to go. And her comment was, not again.
As information comes in from the Coast Guard, it becomes clear that this is no ordinary call-out.
I did ask the question again.
I heard it was a shark attack and I was like, shark attack?
I've never come across a shark bite before. I was quite shocked to hear a shark bite.
I was like, whoa, are we thinking like a Jaws situation?
It's a shark. They're strong. Has he bitten his arm off or has it severed his arm?
Minutes after the call from the Coast Guard, the crew launch in their Atlantic 85 lifeboat.
Conditions were perfect. There was a little bit of a roll, a slight swell, but other than that, we could make best speed to the casualty vessel.
News comes through that the casualty has been bitten by a shark on board a fishing boat around 13 miles from Cork Harbour. He's alive but bleeding heavily.
I said a little prayer that he wasn't going to lose enough blood to lose consciousness, which would be a much bigger effort for us to transfer him to the lifeboat and get him to safety. It did sound quite serious because the skipper in question was administering first aid and had pulled in his lines and was steaming towards Crosshaven.
We actually met the fishing boat about 4 miles off Roach's Point, so it had come in a tremendous amount.
When we got there, the casualty vessel slowed down.
I asked the skipper, James, to proceed due north 8 to 10 knots so that I could get one of my casualty carers on board.
The crew must now pull up alongside the fishing boat ready to transfer first aider Vince aboard to assess the casualty. Even in relatively calm seas, it's a dangerous manoeuvre.
You've got two moving vessels independent of each other. You have a 3.5 ton lifeboat and a 7 or 8 ton fishing boat. So if the fingers or toes get caught in between both those crafts, it could have been another casualty.
When I left the lifeboat to go on board the casualty vessel, a lot of the other crew were in, they looked like they were kind of a bit shocked as well, like.
We could see his arm was bandaged and wrapped.
I said, want me to open up the wound, have a look at it? He said he was comfortable with it. I think he was more shocked than pain.
At that stage, we got a life jacket on the casualty. If you can step over and get him onto the lifeboat as quick as you possibly can, because in the back of my head was, if this guy loses consciousness, it's a bigger job.
Once he was sat down then, I was able to assess him. He was quite pale.
His hand was just hanging loose, so I made a sling, elevating his arm, stopped the bleeding.
He was complaining of pins and needles, and Vincey looked at me and he said, look, just hold it up and we'll just get you in as quick as we can.
Whenever you go out fishing, you drop the line. It's just exciting to see, you get a bite. You don't know what's coming.
Robert and his friends had been fishing for blue sharks, the most common species of shark in Irish waters.
Whenever you're catching shark, you need to be a wee bit careful. Blue shark, their teeth are like razor blades. Once we catch a shark, he's weighed and tagged and released safely.
The group had already caught and released several sharks when Robert's friend Ken got another bite.
It was a great fish. It was the best one I had ever seen, you know, because it was putting up a good fight. They got it up to the boat, and whenever they got the hook out, they were holding the fish up. I had walked out to get a closer look, and that's whenever he took off on a bit of a wobble and caught me in the side of the arm. At the start, yeah, it was like somebody stuck a knife in me. There was a lot of blood. It was all over the floor. It was squirting up out of my arm. But once I got the bandage on, you know, I thought it was all right, you know, but it wouldn't stop bleeding. Yeah, I started to get lightheaded. There was lost a lot of blood.
The fact that it was a forearm bite was really lucky for the casualty. If it was the other side of the arm, it would have been a very different scenario.
15 minutes after getting Robert on board, the crew arrived back in Crosshaven.
In this case, getting that particular casualty ashore, still walking, was a great achievement for me. I felt good about it.
They took me in the ambulance till Cork Hospital. I had 10 stitches, so I did. It's a wee bit of payback from the sharks for sticking hooks in them.
The nickname I got from this shout was Sharky. I don't know why I got it. They just decided, you know, Jenna, Sharky, we're going to call her that, Sharky O'Shea.
The minute I came back to the station, someone said, I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Jaws, for those who don't know.
Poole on the Dorset coast lays claim to being the largest natural harbour in Europe, making it a playground for all types of water sports.
Our patch stretches towards the Solent, so we get a lot of sailing boats that come from the harbour. We go right all the way around to the Jurassic coastline, so we've got fishing boats and leisure users.
There's always somewhere that a paddleboarder, a kayaker, someone can go out and enjoy themselves. But they still have to be very careful. Things can change very quickly and get very fierce so fast. And from a nice summer's afternoon to an evil evening, you know, I've seen many a time.
Not surprisingly, the lifeboat station at Poole is one of the busiest in the country, with over 140 call-outs last year.
There's not one type of shout we regularly get, and you never know when the pager goes. You just don't know in Poole what you're going to get next.
Which certainly keeps us on our toes.
October, the temperature's dropping. As winds pick up to force 7, a kayaker has been reported missing in Studland Bay, a few miles south of Poole Harbour. He's been taking part in an organised race, but has failed to reach the finish line.
It's incredibly serious because it's someone by themselves out on the water, and he could be in the water.
You're hoping that that person's still going to be in the boat, and they're still going to be exposed to the cold wind and sea spray, so they're still going to potentially get cold and wet. In the water, your core body temperature is going to drop.
It was a case of grab as much information you can at the station, grab some crew, and get going.
The crew launched their Atlantic 85 lifeboat within minutes of the call from the Coast Guard.
Yeah, it was quite calm, really. It wasn't too bad at all. Not until you got off a little bit. Every sort of few hundred metres you went off, it got a little bit choppier and a little bit rougher.
Hot on their heels, the station's D-class lifeboat joins the search.
As you launch, you're absolutely hoping for the best. You're out there, and everybody on board any lifeboat wants to be the person to save that life.
The
Finding the kayaker is complicated by the lack of information about his last known position in the race, spanning a distance of around 4 miles.
I've pulled off over to Stunning Coast Guard. Your search instructions are as follows. Your CSP.
The Coast Guard was giving us different areas to search based on their calculations of the wind and the weather conditions and the tides.
3 miles on this first.
We started getting more information come through saying that this gentleman had been to Swanage, but then was not seen from Swanage back to Poole or into Studland. So it was could have gone missing anywhere along that leg. So instead of making your search box just a few hundred yards, all of a sudden it makes it tens of miles. It's a big can of worms that just exploded in front of us and trying to cover a massive area.
As the search area grows, the lifeboat crew at Swanage, 8 miles down the coast, launched their D-class inshore and Shannon all-weather lifeboats.
The first thought I had really was the conditions. It was quite windy. It was really quite choppy in the bay.
You couldn't actually look out the front of the boat. You had to search looking out to the stern because there was just so much water getting chucked over the boat at the time.
There are now 4 lifeboats searching for the kayaker, but spotting someone in these conditions is extremely challenging.
A kayak is very, very low to the water. There's nothing that sticks up. A lot of the times guys are wearing black, and it's quite hard to pick them out against the background of, of sea.
It really was trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Right, Chris, happy to go for a swim there. I don't want to come any shallower. Bit of a wash coming in as well.
The crews from Poole focused their initial search along the shoreline in Studland Bay.
We were tasked to kind of search the shallows, mostly because of the D-class. It was perfect for getting into the shallow parts.
Keep a hold, guys!
It was also more sheltered in there from the wind and the conditions, so we were able to do a more effective search.
You're thinking all the time about, okay, are they on the beach somewhere else? Have they got tired and come ashore? Are they in the water? So many different scenarios running through your minds, but you're hoping for the best all the time in the early days.
Meanwhile, the Swanage lifeboats are scouring Swanage Bay.
We were given a description of the kayak and a description of the clothing that the kayaker was wearing. So the inshore lifeboat carried out a search along the beach, and we went across to the far side of the bay and started searching a little bit further out to sea. And fairly quickly, it became apparent that he wasn't in Swanage Bay.
I think within an hour of getting on scene, it soon dawned on us that it wasn't going to be a regular search. This could go on for quite a long time.
We knew this was a big incident with the amount of lifeboats and rescue assets that were being thrown at it. I think we briefly saw our own lifeboats and the rescue helicopter, and then the radio communications. We could hear the other lifeboats at times talking to the Coast Guards about their own search areas.
The longer we were out, the chatter on the radio was increasing, and quite a lot of the Coast Guard rescue teams were searching the cliff tops and the shore.
I think during the time we were searching, we were aware that the conditions were getting windier, the sea was getting rougher, hence why the Coast Guard were giving us bigger areas to search.
The conditions were really, really rough. There was quite big waves, there was incredibly gusty winds, so concerns were that he might have toppled off the kayak and couldn't get back on it. I think we were just so focused on finding him and finding him as fast as we could because the conditions were quite grim out there.
The Swanage all-weather Shannon lifeboat is given the task of searching further out to sea.
We're given a box, an expanding square where they think he might be, and we start going north, east, southwest, and that box gets bigger and bigger and bigger. When we've exhausted one box, we'll then move to another box in a different start position. You know you're looking for a person, and you need to sort of stay on it, really, stay concentrating. Your eyes start to play tricks on you. Is that pot mark? Is that a person? Is that a head? Is that a kayak? If you drift off for a minute, if you lose focus, then you might go past the guy.
Okay, Chris, do you want to go for it? I think you'll be about chest deep looking at that paddle.
2 hours into the search, the Pool D-class crew take their more manoeuvrable boat in for a closer look at the shoreline.
We searched around the bottom of the cliffs and around the caves, and we were really hoping that he would have been sitting on the beach or sitting at the bottom waiting for help to come.
We just wanted to leave sort of no stone unturned.
Just yank him in, quick as you can.
But there's no sign of the kayaker. The D-class heads back out to sea.
You are disappointed when you don't come across anyone, but you just kind of keep that positivity going that he will be in the next search area and you will find him.
3.5 hours since the kayaker was last seen, the search area now extends 15 miles offshore and covers a total of over 300 square miles.
So as the search developed, we moved further offshore. The waves were starting to break, the salt water comes in, your eyes are stinging, but you just persevere. You've just got to carry on. You've just got to find that person.
So in the D-class, because you're basically going through the waves and you're kind of very low to the water, you feel every bump, every bash. You're getting swamped by waves at times, and you're mentally and physically tired.
I think it was one final big wave that came over us, and I just knew that this wasn't really working. We were pretty much holding on, fighting seas, rather than doing effective searching.
After almost 5 hours at sea, the exhausted Pool D-class crew head back to harbour.
At that stage, it was out of our hands. We were stood down because of the conditions, and you feel very deflated at that stage. It's tough, but what we hold on to is that we put everything out there. We tried our best. We knew that if he was in that area, we would have found him.
Getting back and sitting down and having that cup of tea while the search is ongoing is really tough. You sit there quietly, listen to the radios and the other crew, and it's quite a somber mood. You're always hoping that one of the lifeboats or rescue assets out there is going to call up and say, we've got a sighting. You're forever hopeful every time the radio goes.
As darkness closes in and the search area widens, Pool's Atlantic and Swanwich's Shannon-class lifeboats, better suited to the deteriorating conditions, press on.
Conditions were worsening. It got quite cold. We had all our protective gear on and we were really, really cold and quite tired as well. So, yeah, our thoughts are with, is he in the water? Is he on the board? And what else can we do?
We were hoping, that on the next leg or on the next turn, he's going to be sat on his kayak, waving his paddle at us, cold, but alive.
As darkness fell, the difficulty goes up as well. It's hard enough finding somebody in the water in the daytime, let alone trying to do it at night. So the Coast Guard helicopters were still out there using their searchlights and their infrared equipment, and we were looking with searchlights.
With the searchlight and the spray, you get a lot of blindness from the torches. So yeah, we were just looking for reflections or anything, but as the night pulled in, the detection range got less and less. I've no idea what he was going through. It must have been awful. We really didn't want to come back.
There's a sense of frustration, particularly as you know that person must be somewhere, and things, don't start to make sense. You don't quite understand why you haven't found him yet.
We've had searches over the years where people have turned up several hours later. They've come ashore somewhere else, gone to a pub, gone to a friend's house, didn't have their mobile phone with them. So you're still hoping that a call like that is going to come in.
This is something that we train to do. We've got the best equipment that money can buy, and it's absolutely soul-destroying when you can't find this person, and he's out here as well. That's the worst thing.
After almost 7 hours of searching, the decision is made to stand down the Poole and Swanage lifeboats to be replaced by crews from Weymouth and Yarmouth.
It's hard to have to stop and not achieve what we were out there to achieve.
I couldn't possibly imagine what it was like for the family, waiting overnight for the news. You know, missing someone for that length of time must have been devastating for them. I was at home when I heard the bad news, the sad news that they'd found the casualty.
We heard the news that the person had been located, and it wasn't the news we wanted.
It was the worst news, really, that he didn't survive the night, and yeah, we were all completely devastated by that.
He was found 22 miles south of Tyneham, and he was recovered by a passing warship. He travelled something like 25 miles in 15 hours, blown by the wind and tide.
You beat yourself up a little bit sometimes. You think, could I have done more? Could I have been quicker? Could we have searched a different place? Could we have done something? Anything.
It was the biggest search the Iron Line's done in recent years, with 8 lifeboats, 2 helicopters, a fixed-wing aircraft. Sometimes you just can't save everybody.
We didn't know the outcome at the time, but it still plays on my mind now that, you know, I turned around and came back. How do you know that they're not 100 metres ahead, 200 metres ahead? That plays on my mind to this day. It's good to have crew around you. You know, you talk it through, and you know, you might have a drink, and you get a pat on the back and a bit of reassurance, and you did what you could do.
We met the family almost straight afterwards, and they were incredibly grateful for everything we'd done, and they offered their thanks and, you know, said, you know, that how we'd done something that he'd always loved, and he's doing the thing that he loved when he died.
The days afterwards, you are aware that there's a family that's lost somebody, and over time they were fundraising for the RNLI, which, considering everything that had happened, was absolutely amazing.
When you're talking about loss of life, every individual deals with it in their own individual way.
When you come back from the job, you can tell when a crew have been exposed to something which is particularly unpleasant. One of the things we do when we get back is we always talk about it, you know, because it's important that you're able to talk about what you feel and what you've seen.
A lot of people find it difficult to speak to family members. They'd rather speak to a crew member who's experienced it with them. And that's fine, we're always there for each other.
It's one of those things where you don't really know what to say to each other, but it's about chatting to each other and saying, how are you feeling? Are you okay? If somebody's there and they need the support, then they've got it.
All of us have a macho sort of a persona, but at the end of the day, we're all human, and things like that can affect you. But the key thing to do is talk to your fellow crew members. A problem shared is a problem halved.
Overlooking the Severn estuary, just 8 miles from Bristol, lies the vibrant town of Portishead. This old fishing port is now one of the fastest growing towns in Europe.
Portishead is a great town in the southwest. It's got an amazing bit of water, the Severn itself and the Bristol Channel.
I love living here. I love the people here. It's just beautiful.
Hand in hand with the town's renaissance, Portishead boasts one of England's newest lifeboat stations and a tight-knit crew who know the sacrifices they have to make when the pager sounds.
Life with a pager is hectic for everybody in the family, not just you. It's your partner, your husband, your children.
You never know what it's going to be, but when it happens, you drop everything and you go. It's just get the shoes, get the coat, get the keys, get down the station.
My brother had like 2 little curtains on his...
One of the newest recruits here is trainee Lou, who teaches music in 2 local schools.
Just slowly and nicely and calmly, Gael. Can you make a nice semicircle around the piano? Don't lean on it. You don't need to lean on it. Still, people think that lifeboat crew are big, burly, seagoing, bearded, salty sea dogs, you know, and if you say that you're on the lifeboat crew, it is, you almost get a look of, really?
What was that lifeboat? Do you remember when we went to that?
Lifeboat. So our lifeboat is called My Lady Anne. If I'm teaching one-on-one, then I can respond to the pager. If I'm teaching a class of 30 children, then I tend to stay where I am. So stand up nice and tall. Good, very good. A lot of the children at my smaller school have parents or contacts with the lifeboat, so they know exactly what the noise means. So they all know what to do.
Stretching from Weston-super-Mare to the Severn Bridge, Lou and the team cover a large patch of the Bristol Channel, infamous among seafarers for its tides and currents.
What sets Portishead apart from other places is it's a really big tidal range. You know, we're talking 13, 14 metres, and the water comes in quickly.
Imagine 3 double-decker buses on top of each other. That's the tidal range of Portishead on a spring tide.
The sheer power, you don't stand a chance against it. You can't swim against it. I mean, and then that's just going to carry you out, much further down the coast and potentially out into the Atlantic.
May, a sunny afternoon and a rising tide racing up the channel.
I was on my way back from a concert in Bristol, and I was on my way home just to spend some time with the family that afternoon. 3 minutes later, the pager went off.
So when I got to the station, I knew this was serious. Tony, the DLA, was on the phone to the Coast Guard, and I was the first crew in the door. And he looked at me and he gesticulated, "Get changed quickly."
2 people fishing from rocks have been cut off by the rising tide. They're surrounded by water and the clock is ticking.
There's still an hour of tide to come in, but then once that hour was up, that tide's going to turn, and it's just going to wash them out down the Bristol Channel and out further to sea.
Yeah? Okay. So bang in, it's just going to be straight to there. Okay. Straight to Coburn. Yeah. Cross, yeah.
I knew this was potentially a casualty, and there was a life in danger at this point.
Time running out, the helm, Jake, prepares to launch the inshore lifeboat with whoever's kitted up and ready to go, including trainee Lou.
So I made a decision on the day that because of the severity and the speed of reaction, that we decided that we would go with 3.
Give me a radio. We can go with 3. 3 is enough. Ideal is 4.
It's always great to have that 4th person there, especially as it was fishermen, not fisherman. So there's potentially multiple casualties.
I do remember sitting at the top of the slitway in the boat, ready to go with just 3 of us, and I'm probably just about a half of a crew person. Then this is where the courage is really going to need to kick in. Then Jake arrived, and I don't think I've ever been so relieved to see him in my life. You all right, mate?
Yeah, mate. Good. I went running out to the boat, and somebody actually passed the helmet and the life jacket up to me as we were going down the ramp.
In all my experience in the RNLI, almost 20 or over 20 years, this was the quickest lifeboat launch I'd ever been on, because we had to.
The fishermen reported their position as in the water near Severn Beach, around 6 miles from the station. The risk is, with the turning tide, they'll be washed out into the shipping lanes.
Luckily, it was calm weather. I could take the boat up to full speed, so we were travelling at 34 knots, but it was still going to take us, 5 to 10 minutes to get there.
We knew who was going to be doing what, but job 1 would be to find them. No.
Searching for people in the water is difficult anyway, unless they've got bright colours on. They're going to blend in with the scenery, so it can be really difficult to try and find individual people.
It was Jake at the front. That's them. Got them. And then that confirmation, that affirmation of, yeah, on the nose of the boat, that's them. Yeah, I'm right.
It was bizarre. I saw two people stood in the middle of the Bristol Channel, 100 metres offshore, and I was trying to reconcile, what am I looking at?
There were just two guys just stood there with their buckets and rods still in their hands. It was the weirdest thing.
Although they can see the fishermen, the crew must proceed with caution. The tide has now turned and is flowing out to sea at a rate of up to 8 knots.
They were stood on probably the last piece of shoreline because immediately around them was deeper water. So if they'd stepped literally a metre either way, they would have gone down into deep water and would have been swept away.
What depth have you got now? 1-3. We've got 0.8 depth. Swing up the side of it, right? Yeah, 0.6 depth.
As we went towards them, it was obvious that the depth of water that we were in was rapidly decreasing, and therefore I was conscious at the boat, making sure that we didn't damage the boat.
0.3, 2.
I was aware that the tide was flowing quite significantly, so I made a conscious decision to turn the boat away from them and into the tidal flow so that we would arrive beside them without knocking them off their feet. You could definitely tell the water was running past them at a significant rate of flow.
No doubt.
Yep. Get a line, mate. Hold the boat, yeah? It's pretty hard here, mate. Yeah. You all right? Hold the boat. Can I make that hold the boat well? Just get the bit.
You could see they weren't injured. They were remaining calm. As with all fishermen, they passed us their fishing equipment first.
We were past bags, rods, nets, I think, and then a bucket of fish.
You guys all fit well? Yeah.
They're never going to let their catch go. So we looked down in the bucket and there is a nice big sea bass sat in the bucket of water there along with their rods.
We could see they were elderly gentlemen, and we were concerned that they'd been in there a while. We were concerned that they were cold, so we just wanted to get them on the boat quickly. I think he said to me, "You crack on, son." You know, so I think they were just happy that we were there to get them onto the boat.
1, 2, 3.
It was obvious that we were dealing with a pair of characters.
I don't know. Is there any chance of just dropping us over on the back? Can't get in, mate. It's too shallow. Oh, that's fine. Come take us back this way.
Come this way for me. The two guys seemed quite relaxed, relieved, very grateful.
Yeah, I don't want you to get cold, that's all.
Once we sat them down, chatted with them, let them calm down a bit, we then got the blankets around them because they were wet.
Careful, your hats don't fly off.
Our last hope, if it ever came to that, would be to swim to shore. Whether we could have done that or not, I have no idea.
David and his friend Martin had been fishing together for 40 years, but this was their first ever trip to Severn Beach.
We were having a good day's fishing, really was good. Small cod, we had 2 bass. I said to Martin, the tide is coming in really fast. He said, it's all right, the tide's not going to hit us. It'll be all right. And then I noticed the tide running behind us. Unfortunately, we must have read it wrong or something happened because it kept coming in. It started coming over the front of our boots, which is okay. And when it started reaching your knees, then we were thinking, this is not right. This is totally wrong. But by then, our escape route was gone. I thought, now, time to ring. And we did. One mistake, that's all it takes. you think, was I that stupid, what I did? Did I make that big a mistake? And yes, we did make a mistake. The simplest mistake in the world. It could have cost our lives.
I think, had we not been there when we got there, they would have been swept away, and I think the outcome would have been very different.
Hang on, I'll take the helmet off.
You can.
I can't hear nothing.
Of all of the shouts I've done in my 20 years in the RNLI, this is probably the one that, for me personally, stands out as probably one of the most rewarding shouts.
The bass is on the boat.
I was on the phone to you. You had true card. Otherwise, it was a good day.
We only brought 2 bass back that day. Yes, they were very nice fish, very tasty.
The next day at school, and just speaking to some kids, and they said, "Oh, but they were all right though." And I said, "Yeah, they were fine. They were fine." And we got them back, and they're absolutely fine. And they were like, "Oh, well done, miss." And that's when you kind of go, "Yeah, that was good. That was fine." And that's the buzz. That's the high. You don't need someone to tell you you've done a good job, but it just gives you a little nudge that actually, yeah, you know, that was well done.
After his ordeal at sea, Archie's back in Dorset with his twin sister Mary and younger sister Sophia.
Without the lifeboat, there'd be a huge, huge hole in my family. Mary's growing up with her twin to fight with. Sophia she's got an older brother who absolutely adores her and she adores him. And we're still a family. I'm just so grateful that we're the lucky ones.
Archie has been busy showing his appreciation to the Lyme Regis crew.
So at school, I did a non-school uniform day. I did a lot of assemblies. My friends did like cake and ice cream sale, stuff like that. They sold out really quick. And then I shaved all my hair off, which is ended up like that.
It's huge, absolutely huge. I mean, what teenager, you know, I suppose their crowning glory is their hair and their hairstyle. It sort of defines them at this age. He did say at one point, "How long will it take to grow?" And I did, you know, it will grow back, Archie, it will grow back, and you've done it for the most brilliant reason.
Gonna do a final count on Friday, and they estimated we raised £1,000. So I think that's quite good.
I like his new haircut, and yeah, Archie's very good now. It's perfect.
Two people totally stuck in the mud.
We probably had 20 minutes before the water would have covered their heads.
Is that your foot I'm on there? Yeah.
All of a sudden, there was just this massive bang.
In literally 2 seconds, the whole holiday changed.
I don't think they quite appreciated the danger they were in.
Just take my hand.